Good morning, dear students. Let's move on to the next part of Unit 4, that is document maintenance in pharmaceutical industry. In that part 1 we'll discuss today. The content of part 1, document maintenance in pharmaceutical industry, is good documentation practices, that is GDP. What are all the rules of documentation? The rule 1 is, if it is not documented, it did not happen. If it is not documented, it did not happen. The rule 2 is, documentation control is not optional. It is a legal requirement. Documentation control is not optional. It is a legal requirement. Rule number 3 is, records and reports along with procedures tell the story of manufactured products and devices. Rule 4 is, good documentation practices in the pharmaceutical and other healthcare sectors to ensure the integrity and reliability of data. These are the 4 rules of documentation in pharmaceutical industries. What is GDP? That is good documentation practices. GDP lays down the guidelines for preparation, recording and correction of data. GDP lays down the guidelines for preparation, recording and correction of data, as well as the maintenance of the records throughout the life cycle of a document. GDP lays down the guidelines for preparation, recording and correction of data, as well as the maintenance of the records throughout the life cycle of a document. What is meant by data integrity in GDP? It is an essential component of the industry to ensure the safety, efficacy and quality of drugs. It is FDA's ability to protect the public health, and it is a primary global concern for the pharmaceutical industry. So data integrity is most important in GDP, since it is an essential component of the industry to ensure the safety, efficacy and quality of drugs, and it is FDA's ability to protect the public health, and it is also a primary concern, global concern for the pharmaceutical industries. Why we need to document? What are the common documentation errors detected in FDA? That is Food Drug Administration. By Food Drug Administration, what are the common documentation errors found? The errors are missing documents, falsified data, illegible data, missing signatures on the documents, fabricating or invalid data, creating inaccurate and incomplete records, no raw data to support records, documents with missing or false date, time and version number, discarding unwanted data, inadequate investigations, deletion or manipulation of data, incorrect and incomplete validation, no audit trail, loss of data, activities not recorded and no authentication provided. These are all the documentation errors found by FDA commonly. The documents used in pharmaceutical industries are batch manufacturing records and master manufacturing records, bills of materials, SOPs, protocols, forms and log sheets, calibration records, maintenance records, technology transfer documents, certificate of analysis, training assessments, clinical trial records, change controls, instrumentation records, policies, test methods, specifications, product and sample labels, and training documentation. These are the various types of documents found in pharmaceutical industry. A good document should comply with the following parameters such as attributable. A document should be attributable, it should be legible, and it should be contemporaneous, it should be original, and it should be accurate. Attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, and accurate. These are all the documentation compliance parameters. Let's see the benefits of good documentation. A good document unlocks your product's power. It adds value to your product. A good document sells more products, and it reduces time spent supporting your product. It builds confidence in your quality, and it delivers on your promise. So these are all the benefits of a good documentation. Let's see good documentation practices in current good manufacturing practices. What are the 5 P's followed in good manufacturing practices? People, premises, processes, products, and procedures. If we follow a good documentation in all these 5 P's of GMP, then one can achieve the 6th P called profit. The profit leads from a good documentation. Hope you all have understood the need of documentation and what is good documentation practices. Before moving to various documents used in pharmaceutical industry, we have just gone through about the importance of documentation in pharmaceutical industries under document maintenance in pharmaceutical industry as a part 1. Good documentation practices were not prescribed in your syllabus. Then also, before moving on to the documents used in pharmaceutical industries, we must know about good documentation practices. That's why we have discussed about GDP today. Thank you all for patient listening.